New discussions being held on UP energy usage.
New York gets first Ebola patient. I'm Dan Kampanen.
And I'm John Modick. This is Public Eye News. The Michigan Public Service Commission will be holding a question and answer panel next week. The discussion will primarily focus on the usage on future energy usage in the UP. Topics will include electric reliability, affordability, and environmental protection. The panel will also discuss the roles of the Governor's Office and Public Service Commission in protecting electric customers. The event is scheduled to take place at noon on Tuesday in the Bottom Center at NMU. The future of a wolf pack on Isle Royale is looking somewhat grim. This summer, for the second time in almost 40 years, no new wolf pups were born. Researchers say the lack of newborns is a sign the wolves may be struggling to survive. For the past 55 years, scientists have been tracking the relationships between local moose and wolf packs. However, the apparent absence of pups does not mean the wolves failed to reproduce. Researchers will know for certain in January when the wolves return and they can check on the tracks in the snow.
The man charged in a home invasion case in Marquette has been sentenced in court. Sean David McNamara, 28, has received the recommended sentencing of 18 to 15 years in prison time. The police reported they responded to a home invasion call at 513 Wright Street in Marquette on the morning of August 12th. The residents woke to find the suspect in their home. During sentencing, the court took McNamara's past into account. He has 5 previous felonies and has been treated for substance addiction several times. McNamara's accomplices were sentenced today also. David Landrum of Green Bay was sentenced to 12 months and was credited with 67 days served. A woman accused of shooting and wounding a coworker at a Neenah, Wisconsin Walmart has been deemed competent to stand trial. Judge John Jorgensen made the ruling Thursday after 2 doctors found 48-year-old Justine Boyd competent. Boyd waived a preliminary hearing and then pleaded not guilty by reason of mental disease or defect to attempted first-degree intentional homicide. The competency ruling means she can assist in her own defense. Boyd is accused of shooting Sherrod Gifford on August 1, 2013 at the Neenah Walmart where they both worked. According to a complaint, Boyd apparently was upset that Goffard got an easier position at work. Boyd is due to appear in court again on December 1st.
A food service worker at Gus Harrison Correctional Facility was fired recently after smuggling drugs into the facility. The accused kitchen worker is the 3rd such Aramark Correctional Service employee to be fired for smuggling. Michigan Department of Corrections spokesperson Russ Marlin says the worker was banned from prison property October 3rd. Aramark spokeswoman Karen Cutler says the Corrections Department performs background checks on all potential employees. Other Michigan prisons having problems with drug smuggling employees include the G. Robert Cotton Correctional Facility in Jackson and the St. Louis Correctional Facility. An albino deer shot by a local hunter sparked some interesting controversy. The buck, shot by an 11-year-old boy using a crossbow, is one of very few albino deer in the UP. Department of Natural Resources Specialist Brent Rudolph says the boy did nothing wrong and that the albino deer have been legal to hunt since 2008 when the state lifted protections for the animal. The restrictions were said to be confusing for hunters, seeing as how there's no biological reason to protect the genetic trait. Rudolph says the DNR is seeing the incident as an opportunity for public dialogue. And after the break, we'll have your national and international news. Stay tuned.
Coming up on Austin City Limits.
Tune in Saturday night at 11.
And welcome back. The first nurse diagnosed with Ebola after treating an infected man at a Dallas hospital is free of the virus. The National Institute of Health says that in a statement that Nina Pham is being released today from the hospital near Washington. In a news conference earlier this morning, Pham said, quote, "I feel fortunate and blessed to be standing here today," end quote. Pham contracted the disease 3 days after working with Eric Duncan, the first person to be diagnosed in the United States.
New Yorkers are being urged to remain calm now that the city has its first Ebola patient. Officials in New York say so far everything has been done by the book to keep the deadly virus from spreading further. Don Champion has the latest from Bellevue Hospital in New York.
Crews are expected to clean Dr. Craig Spencer's Upper Manhattan apartment today, removing anything that could be contaminated. People are free to come and go from his building, but neighbors wonder if that should be allowed.
I think the building should be quarantined right now, due to this, scary situation that's at hand.
Dr. Spencer returned from treating Ebola patients in West Africa last week and had been self-monitoring, taking his temperature twice a day. New York Post video shows Spencer being rushed to Bellevue Hospital yesterday. It's one of 8 designated Ebola centers in the state. Officials say he had a temperature of 100.3 degrees, lower than earlier reported. He had been out and about in New York all week, going to a park, a restaurant, bowling, jogging, and riding on the subway.
Officials say since Spencer was not showing symptoms, it's not likely that he infected anyone else. His fiancée and 2 friends have been quarantined as a precaution.
Police working the scene near Spencer's apartment yesterday raised questions. They were caught on camera disposing their protective gloves, masks, and caution tape in a street corner trash can. It's unclear how close they got to the doctor or his apartment.
On Fridays for the next few weeks, we'll be talking about issues related to the upcoming election and past election proposals. Today's segment features attorney Brian Block talking about Michigan's medical marijuana program.
Welcome to Poli-Sci on the Fly. My name is Ashley Dufna, and with me here is Marquette local attorney Brian Block. Today we're going to be talking about Michigan's medical marijuana program and some of the legal and political effects it has since the passing of Proposition 8 in 2008. Thank you for joining us. It has been 6 years since Michigan voters chose to legalize medical marijuana. Can you briefly describe the current case of the program?
Well, Michigan's Medical Marijuana Act, which was enacted in 2009, is a stepping stone for changing the attitudes of public perception, law enforcement, and politicians towards how we've classified marijuana as a society. In 5.5 years, despite the doom and gloom prophecies of moneyed interest and bought and paid for politicians like Michigan's Attorney General, there's been no increase in crime, drug abuse, or any of the sky is falling predictions that those who would like to continue the prohibition against marijuana have prophesized.
Thank you. Do you believe the passage of Proposition 8 has been beneficial for Michigan as a state?
All politics are local, so let's talk about Marquette County. In the last 5.5 years, there have been an explosion of people with stake in this community, people who own homes, land, farms, who are now growing small quantities of marijuana and no longer do truckloads of pot roll up here from Mexico to feed a multi-million-dollar industry.
Okay. In 2012, we saw Colorado and Washington legalize for recreational use. How is that working out for them, and do you see more states such as Michigan possibly following suit in future elections?
In the first month of Colorado's legal pot law, January of this year, they realized $1,300,000 in tax revenue. Michigan, I would say, is 60-40 going to have a legalization measure on our ballot in 2016, and I would say that most states will have legal pot by 2020.
All right, well, thank you, Brian. That's all the time that we have for today, and don't forget to vote on Friday, November 4th.
Stay tuned because after the break, we'll have your weather and sports.
This week on Media Meet, voters in Michigan's midterm elections will decide a contest between 2-term Republican 1st District Congressman Dan Benishek of Crystal Falls and a retired Army general and former Kalkaska County Sheriff. I'm Bill Hart. We'll meet Democrat Jerry Cannon of Fife Lake this week on WNMU's Media Meet.
And welcome back to your Public Eye News. I'm Dorsey Sprouse with your weather. If you look behind me here on the campus of Northern Michigan University, you will see that it is a beautiful day. The sun is shining and the clouds are nowhere to be seen, and there's a nice soft breeze blowing. Currently, as I said, sunny and a temperature of 53 degrees, a southwest wind blowing at 10 miles per hour, and the barometric pressure holding steady at 29.92 inches. Tonight, you're going to see a few more clouds coming in. It'll be partly cloudy, a low of 52 degrees, and a southwest wind blowing at 12 miles per hour. Tomorrow, you will see sunny skies, a high of 56 degrees, and a west-northwest wind blowing at 19 miles per hour, so it'll be a little windier tomorrow. Let's take a look at the area around us. You'll see that all across the Upper Peninsula, it's partly cloudy, but the clouds are definitely the thickest out in Sault Ste. Marie, where it's 54 and cloudy. Manistee is 53 and partly cloudy. Escanaba, 54 and partly cloudy. Menominee is 57 and partly cloudy. Iron Mountain, 63 and partly cloudy. Ironwood, 66, partly cloudy. Houghton is 67 degrees and partly cloudy. And back here in Marquette, as I said before, sunny with a little bit of clouds and 53 degrees. Let's take a look at your next 3 days. That really great weather is going to pull through into the start of next week. On Sunday, you're looking at clear skies, a high of 54 degrees and a low of 39. On Monday, however, there will be a chance of thunderstorms, a high of 55 degrees and a low of 48. And it's going to clear up a little bit on Tuesday, partly cloudy skies, a high of 52 and a low of 39. So a lot of people are really happy about this weather, but Red Wings fans certainly don't need another reason to be happy now, do they?
Not at all.
Nope.
Last night, the Red Wings beat the Pittsburgh Penguins 4-3 in overtime after trailing nearly the entire game. The Wings were down by 2 goals with under 3 minutes left in regulation when they pulled goalie Jimmy Howard in desperation. Henrik Zetterberg promptly scored off a pass from Danny DeKeyser, and Nicholas Cronwell scored the tying goal with under a minute left from an incredible pass from Pavel Datsyuk. The offensive momentum carried into overtime as Justin Abdelkader scored the winning goal just over 4 minutes into the period. The Red Wings will head to Philadelphia to take on the Flyers tomorrow night at 7. The World Series continues tonight in San Francisco at AT&T Stadium. The Kansas City Royals and the San Francisco Giants are both looking to break the tie and take a 2-1 lead in the series. Jeremy Guthrie and his 1.8 postseason ERA will take the mound for the Royals. His opponent for the Giants will be 39-year-old Tim Hudson, who is making his first appearance in a World Series. The first pitch tonight will be thrown at 8:07. And the Northern Michigan Wildcats football team will head to Ohio to take on the Ashland Eagles. NMU is coming off a 33-30 home victory over Wayne State, where quarterback Shea Brown threw for a career-high 346 yards after completing nearly 70% of his passes. Ashland beat Hillsdale last week 17-7 with a great contribution from running back Anthony Taylor, who rushed for 182 yards in the game. The Eagles are 6-1 on the season, while the Wildcats are 2-5. Kickoff for tomorrow is set for 1 p.m. And while Wildcats fans seem to have a lot to cheer about, there's a lot of TV fans that are cheering boo.
Yeah, they are, because Honey Boo Boo is going honey bye-bye. The TLC network says it's canceling its colorful series about a young beauty pageant contestant and her family. TLC would not explain why the series was being shelved, but this week TMZ reported that the girl's mother, June Shannon, was in a relationship with a man who is convicted of child molestation. The current season will begin to end before the end of this year, and the series created a big buzz when it made its debut 2 years ago, but ratings have started to fizzle in the recent years. And when the fireworks burst in the air tomorrow night in Springfield, Missouri, it won't be your ordinary celebration. A Missouri funeral director will be bidding a fond farewell to his father by having his cremated remains mixed with fireworks and launched into the sky. James Carter will be the first man to obtain this service from the Green Lawn Funeral Homes. His son says that the 8-minute display will be followed by a cookout and a memorial celebration. And that's all the time we have for you tonight here at Public Eye News. Be sure to tune in again on Monday.
The preceding program was produced in studios located in the Edgar L. Hardin Learning Resources Center by WNMU-TV, Northern Michigan University Public Television.